I'm Robert, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to build and edit an HDR image. We're going to take this image from here to here, all in Lightroom. Let's start by merging this HDR. Select all of the images in your bracket. I only shot 3 for this one. Here's my neutral exposure, 2 under and 2 over. Right click on any of the images, go down to Photo Merge, HDR. First off, I have auto align enabled. It shouldn't be a problem since I was shooting on a tripod, but I leave it on anyways. Next, we can select the deghost amount. Ghosting occurs when there's movement in your scene. I usually don't shoot HDR bracketed images for seascape photos since there's so much moving objects in the scene, but this image it works because most of the image is the rocks and the pier. Right now I have medium deghosting selected. You can see all of the areas in red are where Lightroom sees movement. If we were to select none, all of the people that are moving here would be pasted over top of each other and you would see multiple copies of each person. So just play around with it, click on low, medium, high, see which one works for you. Don't forget about trees if you have them in your scene. Deghosting does a good job of taking care of movement caused by wind that you'll see in palm trees. So I'm happy with medium, so I'm going to go down here, click merge. You can see Lightroom placed our HDR here. It's labeled as hdr.dng. If you want to search for this image, just go to text and type in HDR. Lightroom will sort out all of your HDR images. So this is the image we just created. Let's press D for develop and get started. Let's get started at the bottom like I always do. Make sure we're on the current version. We'll scroll up. We're going to skip vignetting for now. Click on constrain crop. We'll zoom in on the horizon and straighten this horizon. That looks straight. Let's move on up to sharpening. I already have these 2 checkbox clicked. Make sure you do the same. We're going to do our standard sharpening routine of 100 and applying a mask. Hold down Alt, scroll up. Let's sharpen everything except for the sky. We'll continue on past the color panel and up to the basic panel. Let's take full advantage of the dynamic range in this image, bringing the highlights down and the shadows up. The image is still a little bit dark, so let's bring our white point up. Right about there looks good. And we'll bring the black point down. So I was looking up here when the black point started clipping, then I backed it off. Now let's work on some of the colors. Go down to HSL, select Luminance. Luminance is how bright or how dark a color is. I want to darken up some of the colors I see in the sky, starting with orange and yellow, just a little bit. Instead of a blue sky, we have a weird purple cast caused by my cheap filter that I was using. I had a 3-stop soft edge graduated neutral density filter placed over the sky. So let's see what we can do about that. If we go to hue and click on blue, we can change the color of the sky. So I'm going to bring it down negative. If we went up the other way, it would just make it even more purple. So let's pull blue down until the sky looks a little bit better. We'll go right about there. So we have a nice blue to purple to sunset color gradient. We can further adjust the blue. Go to luminance. Let's darken it a little bit. Then we'll go to saturation and bring it up a little bit. That looks better. Let's take a look at the before and after. Here's before. We have a weird purple cast. And after, now we have a nice gradient to the blue sky. You can see we have a weird color cast going on in our shadow areas. So let's grab our brush tool and brush it in. Press O to turn on our overlay so we can see where we're working. I have auto mask enabled, but we still spilled over a little bit. So just hold down Alt. It'll turn our brush into an eraser. Let's brush some of these areas that we don't want. Then press O to turn off our overlay. Now let's try and work with the white balance here to warm up these rocks and fix this color cast. I'm also going to bring the tint up a little bit. There you go. We got rid of all that green color. And since our foreground element is these rocks here and it's so prominent in our scene, let's bring our texture up to really bring them out. That looks good. I like a strong foreground element. Let's close our brush and take a look at the composition. For this image, we have the horizon right in the middle. We have about half sky and half foreground. We have strong leading lines in this image. This line goes directly into the corner of the image, which is one of my favorite things to do, and comes out and points through the scene. The pier does the same, creates a strong line pointing from the foreground to the background. So always be on the lookout for leading lines to help lead your viewer's eyes through your image. I was able to get this small sun flare by using a small aperture, such as f14. When you're using a small aperture, place the sun partially behind an object. In this case, it's this pier pylon, and you'll get a sun